Agile for Humans listeners, Ryan Ripley here. Just want to give you a quick message before the show. This episode was actually recorded in Germany during a dinner with a lot of trainers. We had a great time talking about leadership. I hope you enjoy it too. We're going to jump right into a conversation that was just getting started, so you haven't missed too much. Also wanted to announce there's a lot of things going on with Ryan Ripley and Company. This year has been really awesome. A lot of great classes forming up. You want to know more about how you can join me in a scrum.org course, go to ryanripley.com/classes, teaching advanced Scrum Master, professional Agile leadership, product ownership, a lot of great things going on there. I'd love to see the Agile for Humans community in these classes. I think you'd get a lot out of them, and I'm sure you would add to them as well. All right, that said, let's jump into the conversation. Again, this is from Ulm, Germany, just a few weeks ago. Had a great time talking to these fellow trainers, really interesting ideas around creative and reactive leadership. But I'll stop talking and let's get right into it.
Welcome to Agile for Humans. Our goal is to bring humanity back into the world of software delivery with Agile values, principles, and practices. We gather top Agilists from around the globe to share insights and help you grow as servant leaders in your organizations. We seek to open minds, change hearts, and deliver value into the world. Now here is our host, professional Scrum trainer and Agile practitioner, Ryan Ripley.
Unpack it, Will.
All right, so let's look into this, and the way this has been explained to me, and I'm kind of going off what Simon has explained to me just now, is basically there's two coins to leadership, two sides of the same coin, where one is creative and one is reactive. And on the reactive side, you as a leader are currently reacting to what is happening all around you and what your people are doing. And depending on if your orientation is more into people or the tasks that you're trying to reach or that you're trying to accomplish, this results in a variety of styles of behavior. So you might with all of the best intentions, right? Because people do tend to act from the best of intentions. But it might result in a command and control approach because you're very, very focused on achieving what you're trying to achieve. And you're just trying.
That's reactive.
Yeah, that's reactive. So you're just trying to get people to go along with you to do what it is that you're trying to achieve. Or you might be heading more into a protective approach, where you have this idea of a community, of an organization that you've created, and anything that affects that is a potential threat. So you're kind of protecting that. You're protecting the people. You're protecting the tasks they're trying to do, but that is very limiting to the people around you, because you're constantly reacting. You're constantly trying to alter their behavior to some kind of idea you've had. So the flip side of this is a creative approach. And again, correct me if I'm wrong here, where from a command and control approach, you go into a more visionary approach where you inspire people and you create the room for them to fill with their self-organization, with their ambitions. Where from a protective approach, you go into more of an authentic approach, where you present yourself from your values and from the things that you find important and your actions that you find important, and you allow people to mirror that authenticity and respect that authenticity. So while the net result of this might be the same from a business perspective, the way the people approach this is, and the way that you approach it is from a markedly different perspective, where you go from hard leadership, like the traditional kind of leadership, to more of the servant type of leadership.
So would you say so Will, I appreciate you walking through that. Would you say that there's actually space for both modes to exist in a modern organization?
So
if you
identify yourself first, please, sir. This is my good friend Simon Bourk.
Yeah,
and where are we at? We're in, what is the name of this city?
Blaustein.
Blaustein, which is close to Ulm.
So we're near Ulm, Germany, and we're at a scrum.org steward face-to-face and liberating structures course. And so we're talking about the creative versus reactive styles of leadership, or stances of leadership. And I find this endlessly fascinating, because we run into both of these in our modern organizations. And the question I posed is it still valid to be reactive? And I'm curious because I think Simon's about to jump in and give us an answer to this.
I'm reacting to your question.
So you're going to be reactive in dispelling the idea that reactive is still valid.
I don't think so the idea is that it's not a matter of valid behavior. It's just like describing behavior of leaders, right? It's either you're creative or you're reactive, okay? And if you want to have the best success for your organization, what you want to do is to empower your team with creative behavior. It's to be creative with your team. Like, how do you want to show up as a leader with your team? Do you want to be like reactive, either protective, like you want to protect yourself, or do you want to like be authentic and point out like and the flaws or the errors or the misconceptions, so that the team can work together to fix them? Or is it that you want to be creative by having a vision and establishing a strong vision so that people align, and it's all about leading these people.
So if my want when I'm sitting in an executive role is to deliver. That's what I'm being told by my CEO to do. And so so let's root this, because I like this dichotomy of creative versus reactive. But let's say something stunning in the market occurs. Let's say a president decides that he's going to do something that's counter to what the market believes is correct, and that's not no one take offense. Let's pretend that this is 40 years ago, and some other president made a decision that the market didn't like. Right? Now you as a company have to respond to that. Can you be reactive in that space, or are we setting up teams to be creative and that they can see that coming?
There's kind of an interesting approach to this, because
who are you, sir?
I'm Wilber Seele.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. So let's take let's make this a bit simpler. So let's take this to a bit of higher level abstraction. So question to Simon: would you argue that a reactive leader is one that thinks for his people, whereas a creative leader creates space for his people to think?
So it's about space, but Ryan's example here is more about task-oriented. So you have two types of people-oriented or task-oriented, and he's like in the other sphere of task-oriented. Yeah. And the challenge that he has is like deliver something. Yeah. So if you want to talk about reactive behavior of someone who wants to deliver something, he's going to be like driving for perfection. Right? That's the reaction, that you're like driven to deliver something. You're looking for perfection. You're gonna be driven. You're gonna be like command and controlling. You're gonna give tasks and stuff like that. You're gonna have like high ambitions. Your ambitions. You want to change states. You want to like go up a level in the ladder, kind of stuff in the company. You're gonna have your own set of rules. You're gonna like pretend that the rules of the community or of the company, they don't apply to you, right? Because you're task oriented. The most important thing is to deliver things. So that's all reactive stuff. This is gonna impede your team and your company to really achieve high performance on a long-term process. So in terms of creative behavior, you're gonna make decisions, right? You're gonna have a vision. You're gonna establish a strong vision so that the team can team up and go towards that vision. You're gonna be measuring the right metrics that will help you to better deliver what you need to deliver, kind of stuff, right? Would you agree, Ralph?
So I think what I'm hearing.
Wait, who are you?
So this is Ralph Jocham. Sorry, I was not identifying myself.
And what book did you write, Ralph?
I wrote the book together with Don McGrill, the professional Scrum product owner.
Awesome, thank you. So how would you address Simon's concern?
I think what I was hearing from Simon strongly was the difference between effectiveness and efficiency, or outcome and output. So I think if you're reactive, you're more like output focused, like I need to get things done, I need to be really efficient, I need to be more efficient than my competition. The more efficient I am, the more output, the better I will be. And if you are creative, I think you create this room for the right outcome. And this goes then also back to having a clear vision about this is what we want to achieve, and you create the room for your people to actually find answers to the given problems that you have.
So would you then argue that the creative creates more room to think for others and for self-organization to take place?
Yes.
Whereas the reactive is more do this, I've already thought of the right answer, just generate this output because I've already seen that this output will generate this outcome.
Yes.
So now, some managers out there are probably like ready to shut this off. They're like, all right, I've got work to go do and things to deliver. They still have a role in this, right? Aren't they setting the boundaries for this creativity?
Well, vision would still need to be established.
Right.
And I think some of the other things you mentioned, not just vision, but also that definition of quality, that way you want to approach the market, kind of these boundaries within which self-organization takes place are still going to need to be set with someone that has an appearance of this. But I think the attitude you have in how you set these boundaries and how you involve people with them are going to make all the difference.
So let's dig into one of those really difficult questions, right? So let's say I've been at a director level before. Maybe I have been in a past life, and I got promoted because I was able to control things, and I was able to impose my will, and I was able to push things to completion, and I was able to do all these things, and those skills got me to this place where I was successful. Why would I ever switch? Like, why? So you're talking to like this person who threw a reactive stance, and I don't want reactive to have a negative charge to it. Reactive is just, it's a neutral, this is a way that people show up, just as creative is a way that people show up, right? They can lead to different outcomes, but if I've been in this stance and I've been successful, and I've been promoted, where we seem to deliver things, we seem to have customers who are still using our product, why would I ever even venture into the top half of this circle?
It's a valid question. Is it still working for you? And if that is the case, then
and I'd like to inject the Peter principle.
But how do you know? How do you know that it works? And I say this. I have a.
You know it works.
Yeah, I have a background in very large multinationals with multiple layers of management, and one of the things that I know is from things to get to the floor where things happen. Every level up, there's a level of abstraction. And at about level 4 or 5, there's no longer any connection with the actual company. There's Excel sheets with numbers, or there's some sort of drill down, and those reports are not always accurate. And a lot of those reports, especially in organizations that come from a more command and control style, are more output and activity driven. So what do you see in these? You see that a lot of people are busy, that a lot of hours are being made, and that a lot of contracts are being sent out. But does it tell you anything about the effectiveness of what it is you're doing? So that would kind of be my question there. If that has brought you to where you are today, how do you know?
I know because I can. So in that role and with many of and as a VP and working with fellow VPs, I know because I'm still employed, I'm still collecting the check that I'm used to. The bonuses are coming through, and people are generally happy with the work.
So that's an internal thing. That's your internal world.
Absolutely.
But your company does not live in a vacuum.
So very fair point. Simon, what do you think?
I think the way you show up to your team, if you want to measure that, you should probably ask your team. And there's a way to ask them. There's some questions you can ask them to see if you're more in a reactive position or if you're acting more in a creative position, and that's going to tell you if you have an opportunity to have a better team, even better. Like if it's working for you right now, if your management style is working for you now, this is going to tell you yes, you can improve, and yes, it's going to make an impact in the market, because as a leader, if you show that example as a leader to be creative, then the company will show up as a creative company as well.
So I've been in that situation before. So I was sitting at a dinner once with a senior VP who I reported to, and he's sitting with. So what I actually miss, right? I miss the camaraderie of a management team. There's really like some amazing things that happen when you get into management. I'm not anti-management by any stretch. I think it's a very valid profession. I think it's a needed profession. I think these people are amazing when they work across org charts to empower and enable people to do amazing things. I think they do amazing things. And I'm sitting at this dinner with our AVP, with our senior VP, and he turns to us, and there's like 5 of us who are reporting to him, and he goes, "Hey, do y'all think I'm a servant leader?" We're sitting in Greensboro, North Carolina, right? And he, so the y'all comes out, and he goes, "Y'all think I'm a servant leader?" And I go, "Oh no. Oh no." And all I see, the other 4 eyes drop suddenly, but then they focus right back on him. And they all lied to him. And they waited for me, the lightning rod of the group, to tell them how it was. And I just, and for a split second, in that position where they asked the team, they asked the management team, I thought, wow, is this a hill I'm willing to die on? And then I was like, you know what, let's do this. I'm like, no, absolutely not. I think you are reactive. I think we manage projects very interestingly. I think we get things across the finish line. I think we get a lot of tasks done. We get a lot of work done. But I also think when it comes to the end of a project, we will de-scope half of the product that we were planning to build. We'll hand off to the next person. We'll make sure we're not the ones holding the bag. We'll make sure we're not the blocker. We'll make sure that the next team down the pipe has the issues, not us. And then we move on with our day. We swipe our hands and we say good. And along the way, you're telling us at each step, don't be holding the bag, don't be holding the bag, do what you can, push the teams. And that led to one of the worst discussions I've ever had, because suddenly, because when you're on a management team, you always have your friend, that person that reports to the VP with you, and so he jumps in, he's like, yeah, Ryan's got a few points here, but maybe he was drinking I wasn't drinking at the dinner, he's just trying to get us out of trouble because he knows what this is going to blow up into. But it was really one of those weird conversations that it ended up, it felt career limiting. Like I had just made a mistake. But this was a reactive person who believed he was a servant leader. He believed he was creative. But when you look at it, he had a magic spreadsheet that we would put all of the methods and testing scripts into, and it would generate out this estimate for a product or a project. And it would, and then we would have these big reports we would provide, and he would manage them weekly, and we'd have to meet with them. And if we were just a smidge off of the plan, we'd have to justify it and have it go to green. And it was very much controlled. But this person thought in his mind, like his perception of himself really was, no, I'm creative and I'm a servant leader and I'm coming up with creative solutions. What do you do with that? Like, I think this is the chasm that the Agile community really have to cross. Like when we talk about the reactive, right, and the creative, when we talk about empowering people and empowering teams and being a servant leader, I think half the world, the Fortune 500, hears that and they go, yeah, but I've got work I got to go and do. And there's VPs like this who are like, but I'm already there.
Well,
right?
that's the interest. I'm triggered by a conversation I recently had. I was teaching a in-house product owner training to a company in the Netherlands that assists other companies with going to renewable energy. I was introduced to them by another trainer, Guido Boskaljon.
Is Guido at the table?
Guido is at the table.
He's about to throw a curveball, but I'll wait for a couple minutes.
So during that training, we were talking about how do you measure success? We were going up that maturity curve of activities, output, outcome, impact. And I challenged that group to write down how they measure the success of their work. And so he and their CIO were. They went off and they filled out a lot of things that impact. And one of the things they filled in is, we look at the percentage of renewable energy used in the markets we operate in, and if that is increasing thanks to us, that means we're doing good stuff and we deserve getting money for that. And one of the ways they also used to visualize that was these. They have these torches at chemical plants where they burn excess fumes. off. And one of the things their founder did was actually have a picture of that thing on the wall. And if it was getting smaller, that means that company was achieving its goal. So this was, at the face of it, a very vision-driven company. But what we found out is they weren't the only people there, and the teams working there actually didn't put that on their impact. So the way they described their impact was in terms of mostly output, actually, because it was very, very internally driven. So and because that's what they started doing, they also started pulling in more reactive styles of leadership towards them, because they positioned themselves in such a way. So this turned into a pretty vicious circle where the leadership, as a result, felt that their vision wasn't being realized by the rest of their company. They were getting frustrated that people didn't share their vision, which also caused them to take a much more reactive stance. So even though the creative vision was there, they were kind of baited into, and this was a very vicious circle kind of thing. They were baited into a reactive mode of leadership. But I think, Guido, you were about to throw a curveball at me on that.
Well, not especially on this case, but if I hear you guys talk about creative versus reactive and what we'd like leaders, which role we'd like to pick, I do feel you guys favoring the creative role heavily because it creates space for other people to flourish and give them a vision and do their thing. That's why we hired them in the first place. I would agree. On the other hand, though, we celebrate diversity within teams, right? And we celebrate different personalities within teams. It probably makes them successful. If we are looking at a leadership role, isn't it the combination of both creative and reactive people within a leadership role that actually gets a company going and make sure they, from both division, get stuff done? I mean, if we all just put a bunch of creative people in a boardroom, wouldn't they just be talking about stuff without ever finishing anything?
I think, Simon, you said they were exclusive.
I don't believe that a reactive person will tremendously help the company. A creative person will bring the company in a different level of performance. That's what I'm saying. A reactive leader may have success. A creative leader will have success. So, well, it really depends on the market, as well.
Well, the way I'd like to look at it right now is like, let's say you want to cook something and you open the recipe book and you get all the ingredients and you would say basically reactive would be, I want to do this is all I need. And he would bring out all his demands and other things because otherwise you wouldn't know how to do it. But I think a creative person, they just would open the fridge and just say, well, this is what I have there. What's the best possible outcome, the best possible meal I could create with what I have in the fridge? And I think this is something where you need to have creative mindsets and people stepping out of their comfort zone to come up with innovative solutions for problems. And if you always think in the same pattern about, I want to do this and for this I need to do that, you can't really progress into new areas.
But Sjoerd Kranendonk here. Is this the same creativity we mean? I mean, creativity in cooking up something from ingredients you find is, in my opinion, something entirely different than creative leadership. Creative leadership is about creating space for others to be creative. So it's like creating space for your ingredients to self-organize into a nice meal. It's not the same as...
But, I mean, aren't people also an ingredient? Let's say this is the people I have.
All right.
And I could tell them what they need to do, and maybe they're not capable of doing that, but by giving the space for them to grow, to find the ways to achieve something.
Simon's pulling up a model.
Yeah, this is a leadership circle that explains like different sections of the creative and reactive things, and then there's like the people that are more focused on relationship, which is creating space for people how to do their work and then enabling people to do their work and stuff like that. And there's people or leaders that are focused on tasks. Okay, so if you're focused on task and then you want to be creative, you're gonna make decisions. You're gonna say we're going there, right? You're gonna look at the right metrics. You're gonna look at outcomes that will bring that will show success, basically, right? You're gonna have like this vision. You're gonna have this strategy that will bring the vision into like a material or something like that. It's totally different than saying enabling the conversation. It's totally different from asking or challenging a team of something, of an idea. It's like when you're task oriented and you're a creative leader, you're going to make a decision. You're going to have a direction, you're going to have a vision, you're going to have a strategy, you're going to go somewhere. If you're focusing...
Excuse me, can we make the bow?
Sure.
Yes.
I'll have another one, actually.
No, you make the bow.
I think we might need to pause the podcast at this point.
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good till 11. So.
Okay. Come now.
But yeah.
Yeah, sure.
So some people participating on the show might need to close their tabs. However, the creative versus reactive, right? I find this kind of endlessly fascinating. I'm the steward for PAL. Ralph here is a steward for product owner with scrum.org, and we struggle with these questions continually in our courses, right? So how do we, from a product owner perspective, right? Definitely a leadership role. And sometimes something just needs to get done. How do you do that in a creative space?
You make a decision.
What decision? So, but isn't that reacting?
No, you need to prioritize.
So this is this is the switch. Like, I think this is the important point. This is where people miss. So Simon, help me with this.
Okay, so if you would be reacting and you need to do something, if you would be reacting, you would say, Ralph, you're going to do this. Guido, you're going to do this. Ryan, you're going to do this, right? And Will, you're going to do this, and we're going to verify at the end, and it's going to work, right? That's reacting. I'm telling you what to do, and you guys are relying on my, vision that is not transparent. You trust this so that it might work. Right? A creative way might say, this is more important than this, like you're prioritizing something.
Oh, so
right?
I like this.
You're prioritizing, you're making a decision, you're like dropping something over something else. You're saying, this is how we're going to win, right? And then you can let the team decide how they're going to do it, but you need to clarify this vision. And if you find that the vision is not clear, you need to step up and clarify your vision. How hard it is to clarify a vision? Tell me, Ralph.
I think it's now in the context of product ownership, it's really important to have a clearly communicated vision about what you want, not even what, but why you want to achieve something. I think if people understand the underlying why, you can let them go loose and find creative answers to the not foreseen problems they will face anyway. I mean, we operate in the complex.
Well, can you define a good why and a bad why? Is that clear enough as a question?
So a bad why would be because we want to make money.
Yes.
So I think the why should always be
this amount.
Yeah. So I think the why should always be the why should always be end user oriented. The question always who's going to benefit from what we are going to do and how are they going to benefit. And I think this is for me the driving question. So it's not that the people come to the company. No, we have to attract the customers to buy our products or services.
Didn't Simon Sinek do
the Golden Circle? You mean?
Yeah. So he did the Golden Circle. He did a TED Talk, and he featured Steve Jobs in it heavily, where he talked and this. I think this could be interesting, right? So Apple with Steve Jobs had a why. It was to make innovative products that made people's lives better. That's what he wanted to do. Yeah. Unfortunately, with the passing of Steve Jobs, every person that I've talked to, so I'm wearing, just so that people are like, oh, he's a biased. No, we're recording on an Apple iPhone. I'm wearing a Series 4 Apple Watch. I think every person at this table has almost every. Guido is an exception, but almost everyone has an Apple Watch on their wrist. We are homers to the end for Apple, but since the loss of Steve Jobs and that dilution or the vagueness of the why coming into place, like the lack of innovation in the MacBook Pro, like that bar that they put on it was trash and it didn't make the people are actually looking for 2016 and 2015 versions of the MacBook Pro.
Touch and
yeah, they're actually finding previous versions and upgrading hard drives and trying to make them last because the new version is trash. My wife, love her dearly. I always get her the new iPhone. It makes her happy. I've looked at the iPhone X. I'm happy with my 7 Plus, right? I don't see a compelling reason to upgrade.
I think there's an interesting thing as well when you're looking at the why. One of the things Sinek said also about Apple is you're not just happy buying a laptop from them. You're also happy buying a phone from them. You're happy to buy a set-top box made by them. They did servers for a while. They did Wi-Fi for a while with the airports, and people were perfectly. There's people still attached to their airports, which is once if your why is clear and you're very clear on the type of customer need you're trying to answer and the impact you're trying to have in the market, then this opens up a wide space of solutions you can offer. And I think for a more recent example, there's been a recent interview with Elon Musk in Recode. Where they talk about some of the recent problems Tesla has, and at one point he gets into why Tesla exists, because on the face of it, starting a car brand in America is ludicrous, because everyone except for Ford has already gone bottoms up,
and Ford's
about to.
Yep.
So that makes no sense. But then when you look at how he defines a success for his company. Isn't the amount of sales he has, or the tremendous market penetration he has, or the amount of users, or whatever. What he says about that stuff is, we forced every other car brand to start doing electric cars, and we've probably accelerated this field by 5 to 10 years. And the weird thing is, he does that with Tesla. But if you look at what he's trying to do in the impact to get us out of fossil fuel, and there's a lot of stuff the man does that you may not agree with, and he may not be the most exemplar of a leader. But when he talks about what he does and why he does it, then Tesla makes sense because it fits his why, even though the market is weird. Like, you wouldn't start a car company. But Solar City also goes into that, and the Tesla roof tiles go into that, and the Powerwall. It all makes sense because his why is clear.
And he has an amazing Twitter feed.
That too.
It's a lot of fun to watch him come back at people. But I think that's creative vision, right? So, but he stuck to it. And I think when Apple had Steve Jobs, their vision was innovative product and product that made people's lives better. Without Steve Jobs, the products are, well, we need a new version because it's April and we should launch a new version.
Do you, maybe a question, do you remember the reaction?
But that's reactive, right?
Do you remember the reaction people had to the iPad when it was announced?
Mind's blown.
Because it was stupid.
No,
it was stupid.
Yes.
It was ridiculed.
Maybe in the Netherlands.
In Canada too.
In Canada too.
For 2 weeks.
But in the US, we want everything big.
Yeah. And then it launched, and people started using it, and they found that it fit perfectly with what Apple was doing at the time.
Do you know who loves their iPad? My 2-year-old. She thinks it's amazing. It's the coolest. She's like, Daddy, I can watch Paw Patrol right on my... Yeah, you can, sweetie. Hey, let's go to a restaurant and not have you have an epic meltdown. Parents think they're great, too. iPad will go down as one of the greatest inventions of all time.
That we never knew we needed until we had it.
Yes. Creative.
Can we
not
take back the discussion towards creative and reactive? I have a question to Simon, because you brought up the model. Is whether you're creative or reactive, is that a thing you are by nature, or is it when you are in a reactive state, is that in a reaction to something?
I don't know. I'm far from being an expert in that thing. I think you have a behavior, and that behavior will be either reactive or creative.
But that's the case. So let's say I am a manager in a company, currently listening to this podcast. finding myself having sometimes reactive decision making in my work, and you just told me that I'm probably not a good leader. Well, whatever.
You can be a better leader.
So if I understand better why I give reactive actions to the people I lead or whatever, I can also understand better how to give more creative actions. So is it just me by nature, and how do I become more creative? Or did something happen to me in the past, like, I don't know, I did not trust the people I lead, and that's why I give reactive reactions?
I don't know.
Can you help me?
No.
I think this circles back to
This is what I need, right?
You're a terrible consultant. The correct answer is it depends.
So maybe we
I
could
think
also
Ryan
ask
has experience here. You mentioned before, Ryan, that there are certain behaviors that, as a leader, that made you successful. So there are habits there. There are things you know that work because you've seen empirical data of it working.
You can have. So I'm just gonna build on that a little bit. You can have a reactive leader that is in a field that it doesn't matter if he's reactive or creative, is going to be successful. It doesn't matter.
So, to the question, these bills must be paid.
one autogram for
Just a small disclaimer: everyone involved in this podcast is incredibly drunk.
That's not true.
That's not true. Some are mildly drunk.
I think incredibly is a very loaded word.
We're cutting this bit, by the way.
No, this stays in. So,
But I want to maybe also inject a question here is, could you be both? Is it exclusive or? I mean, could you be creative and reactive
Yes.
depending on the context you're in?
Of course, you're a human being. You're not perfect. You're not perfect.
Okay.
Right.
So, but then let me ask you one question for me. The question of Apple. We talked a lot about Apple. Let's look at the Apple iPod. The iPod was reactive because they weren't the first on the market.
Zoom.
No, this was later, but there was the creative. I think they had an MP3 player. There were a bunch of other MP3 players out there beforehand.
But now you're talking about products and not leadership.
Okay. But we also talked about the iPad before.
Yeah,
That's another
but
product.
I think the issue was if you look at the iPod as a competing MP3 player, it was reactive, but it wasn't a competing MP3 player.
Say 6.
It was an attachment to iTunes, which was creative.
iTunes sucked at this time.
Okay,
it wasn't
still
great,
does.
but it was creative because it was the first MP3 player which was worthwhile, and they had 1,000 songs in your pocket. This was the iPod.
Ralph, I'm going to interrupt you strongly right now. Okay, we're not talking about the creation of products or how creative products are. We're talking about how creative a leader is. And that's it. So how do you show up to your team?
So there was a leader who had to say, in a crowded iPod-ish market, yes, let's build a new product. Mm-hmm. That's interesting. That's creative.
That's a decision, right?
That's an interesting decision.
That's a strategy.
The last one
Which is creative, yeah.
3-1-0.
What I'm noticing here, and I keep getting back to it, is that creative leaders, they make decisions that seem sometimes like they're reactive, but all these decisions give options, give space. But if they have a coherent vision, like Apple, the options they create are still coherent. And that's the main difference between like Apple in the Jobs era versus like Microsoft in the Palmer era, right? Because Microsoft did a lot of stuff and it created a lot of options, but there was no coherence. So they were
I think if you're reacting, you're losing.
And they were reacting.
Right? If you're explaining, you're losing. If you're reacting, you're losing.
Yeah.
If you're leading, you've got a shot. And I've landed there with a lot of my thinking. Now, I think sometimes a decision just needs to be made. Something needs to get done. We need to put something in the market. We need to do some inspection, some adaptation, see what people think. Yeah. But that can still be done with the creative stance.
It has to. Like, it can be done with the creative stance.
And I like to differentiate between revenue extraction and value creation.
Yeah.
And I think it's always you have to find, if you build the best possible product, highest possible value, but nobody knows about it, you need to have marketing, so you need to think about revenue extraction. But if you only focus on revenue extraction, this is for me like where the responsive mode is more like, and the reactive mode is in. Because
it's inauthentic.
Yeah, you just try to pull out and make people work harder to get more profit and so on. But if you are not on the other side of the scale, if you don't create new value by being innovative, by being creative, you bleed yourself to death in the long run.
So there's a Dutch marketing guru, Jos Burgers, who's done a lot of work into this, and one of the things that he propagates is that as a company you have to choose who your customer is. And Sinek in a way does this as well when he describes Southwest, because Southwest doesn't have classes. Whereas if you're in an airline that has multiple classes, so first class, business class, and economy class, you're going to wait in line in economy class, and you're going to see the first class people pass you by, and your reaction is, well, yeah, obviously they paid 6 times as much for their ticket, so who cares? And
actually, the passengers who have to walk by a first class or business class seat are like 6 times more likely to have a behavioral issue on the flight.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating.
So what Jos Burgers does is he argues that any company that kind of goes for let's say maximum revenue extraction, if you ask the question who's your customer, they're going to answer that with
the dollar,
whoever's willing to pay.
Yeah.
And one of the things is, and this is a bit of a ludicrous example, like let's take the average Dutch person, for instance. If you're going to say we're going to sell this to everyone, who is the average Dutch person? Very simple example. He has one breast, one testicle, is about 1 meter 50, and 11 years old. That's your average customer. And that's ludicrous. That's stupid, right?
I'm not sure if I have to cut this or not. I think it's okay.
Yeah. So here's the thing.
I'm going to make a creative call here, not reactive.
If you're building a product and you have a vision on that product, who is your customer? And I think those companies that are very clear in these are our customers, these are the people that go first class with us.
Yeah.
And these are people, sure, we'll service them if they want to buy our product, but they're not our primary customer. That's a creative decision. A reactive decision is we're going to sell to everyone who's willing to pay for it.
I think a creative decision in today's North American Fortune 500 is to be a VP who reaches out and builds a team that's truly cross-functional, gives them the space to do really inventive things from not only a development but an HR, finance, legal, compliance, really get them involved in those discussions and decisions, and also take the body shots when things don't go right. And I think that's creative leadership in North America today. And it's really risky and it's really scary, and so I think that's why it's really rare.
So it's risky and scary,
but essential.
But the way you phrase it, it's scary, because you say he's going to have to take the body shot.
Because there will be a body shot.
But why isn't it the team and the company that takes the body shot?
Because if the team takes the body shot, they don't trust the leader and they go back to the old method. What I have found, I may not be right.
The thing is that if there's a shot and there's a body shot, let's focus on, okay, so we learned.
Yeah.
Right? We learned. Was it a mistake? Well, are we going to do that again?
At a certain level of leadership, though, you failed. And so now what are you going to do to make it so that it never, ever happens again?
Let's tug on this. You're in a complex field. You don't know what you don't know. How do you feel?
Great. I personally feel great.
What is failure? Failure is something happening that you could have prevented. But if you're truly embracing complexity and you're assuming a professionalism in people, if something goes wrong, that has nothing to do with failure and everything to do with new information.
And if I control the entire perception, you're right. Yeah. But there's levels above. Yeah. And so an unmet expectation occurred, which led to the disconnect.
Yeah. So if the body shot is happening, we're at the wrong level of leadership here.
Well, I think Fair. Ryan's point is like it has to be. We have to start somewhere, and that leader needs. If there's a shot, that leader needs to be taking it.
From a Scrum.org perspective, we've decided to start at the middle manager level. And in my experience, and I don't know what it's like in the Netherlands. I'm not sure what it's like for Ralph. You're all over. I think you're the most active trainer in the world. actually. But what we have found is that middle management is where rubber meets the road. That is where the true trials and tests come up. And if we can get middle management to believe in empiricism, to believe that you cannot plan complexity perfectly, if we can get them to believe that we need to see real things before we can make real decisions, we can win. If we can't get to that spot, we're going to struggle. And now we're talking, to Simon's point, we're talking at different levels of leadership, but right now the focus is at that middle, because if they're not on board, everything dies. A middle manager, I think, is one of the most powerful people in a company because they report to a person at a VP level who doesn't want to be embarrassed, so they're empowered to not embarrass someone higher up, and so they have full authority and autonomy to crush things that could be embarrassing. This is the space we're working in. We're working in a space that without the proper education, caveats, safeguards, whatever you want to call it, people get embarrassed because we learn, which can be misinterpreted as failure, which has not been socialized correctly. It's like this whole cascading thing, which is why we've set our target right now at that middle manager. Does that make sense?
So yes, but I think you're kind of setting up a trap here because we've empowered someone to not embarrass someone up top. We want to educate that person. We want to enable them, and we want him or her to enable others. At the same time, we all recognize that it is a complex space and that learning experience is inevitable. And unfortunately, learning experience, complexity, results in what is perceived to be failure. So, given that failure is inevitable,
learning is inevitable.
The learning is inevitable, and the perception up top is going to be that is failure. Aren't we then kind of setting that middle manager up to fail in a way?
I think we're setting that middle manager up to be a catalyst for change. And that's what we're trying to do with PAL. That's what we're trying to do with product owner.
I have an idea. I'm just thinking about, I'm listening, and I hear, failure and stuff. Like, how does it feel when you fail? Let's tackle failure right now. Like, how does it feel when you fail?
Kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's a bummer. Okay, so that's a mild feeling. Like, how does it feel when you fail? Bleh. Right, you want to throw up?
That's the alcohol talking.
Okay.
All right.
And so what happens when you fail? So you bombed, like
you feel bad about yourself.
Are you mad? Are you sad? Are you like disappointed? You're like disconnected. Sure. You get disconnected or something, right? So this is where your behavior will matter. Right? When you fail as a leader, this is where how you show up will matter. And this is where a reactive person will differ from a creative person.
Yeah. And the creative person, I think, so when I have been in this spot, I have made a point to say, how fascinating.
Yes.
What should we do now?
Yes.
And that has changed, that has made all the difference.
Yes. So you're authentic with the situation, you're pointing it out, you're like, okay, this is the situation there, and now like what can we do to grow out from there, right? You don't go and blame something.
No.
Right? Blaming would be a way to protect yourself. Right? So this is what we're talking when we're saying like a reactive person is protective. Right, starting blaming someone else, or criticizing someone else, or having making a distance. We're like, oh, this is their fault, and we're just gonna make our hey,
we're not holding the bag.
Yeah, we're not holding. They're holding the bag. It's their fault. So you're blaming someone else, like making a distance with them. So the creative leader will have integrity in that situation. What does it mean to be that person?
I think to be creative, you need to be authentic. You need to believe in yourself. You need to believe in your idea. And I think if you embody all of those features, people are happy to follow you. And then you can create great stuff. And essentially, you would then be able to really tell them why is it important what you're doing, or the golden circle thing. Tell people how this will provide a big impact for so many other people, and then they will go and do the work.
So let's build on that. And when you fail as a creative leader, how does it feel?
Amazing, because you learn something.
There's an opportunity.
And you have an opportunity to make a new decision based on new information.
Maybe not even amazing for certain failures. I think ambivalent for a lot of them as well. If they're bound to happen, and it's not even failure, right? It's just you're encountering new information. It's bound to happen. Sure, you look at that information. Some of it is useful, some of it isn't. But for a large part, it's not going to have that much of an impact.
It depends, right? It depends the outcome of the failure. It depends on the outcome of the failure.
Yeah, but I'm in a way pretty sure that it's not going to have that much of an emotional. It's not going to be jubilation unless it's like really like, whoa, they're buying this instead of this, But I think for most guys, it's like, that's weird. Let's move on.
What do we do? What should we do now?
Yeah.
Where do we go?
Yeah.
I think that's the difference. Instead of reactive, of freaking out, right? Go do this. Figure out what's the story. What do we do? All right, we have an opportunity to make a new decision. Let's grab some of our stakeholders and see what's up.
Could there be a difference between? I think as a creative person, you have to be brave.
Yeah,
because a reactive mode, I think it's kind of all about managing fear, your own fear, and you do try to get in control of that by delegating work, throwing with other people, telling them what to do, blaming them if they fail. But if you're really brave, and if you trust the environment, the structure you have built, you have created, the network around all of that, you can let go and let people do the work.
Well, and if you have a team where you're like, oh, I would never trust them to do that, why are they on your team?
Yeah.
Like, what have you done? Who have you surrounded yourself with?
Yeah. How did you let this happen?
That's the right question.
Yeah. I've actually used that argument in the past where you go, we can't have these people self-organize and be responsible for all of those things. I'm like, oh my God, we have to go to HR and fire every one of them. They're doing a terrible job hiring people.
Well, no, we can't do that because I hired them and said they were great. And then the question is, well, what did you do to them that would make you think you can't trust them now?
Yeah.
Ooh, that can get you kicked out as a consultant.
But
what a question.
Here's you as a creative consultant or a reactive consultant. Are you willing to be authentic?
Sure. Oh, Ryan's good at getting yelled at.
So that's another topic, I think, consultant.
But I think it's good that we've come to this this tangential point because we're actually out of our time box, right? So we're about to that hour where the listeners have said, the listeners have spoken. They've said, if you go over an hour, I'm going to shut it off. And so I've said, okay, I won't go over an hour. And so I think we've had a fun little conversation here. Kind of a European flavor too. It's the first time I've been the only American sitting on a show or in a room like this. It's kind of odd, but it's also it's interesting to get the different viewpoints. And so I really appreciate everyone who's participated here. At this point, it's really open. Like I really like promoting my friends, and everyone here is a scrum.org trainer. I consider them colleagues and really great at what they do. So I certainly would welcome you if you've participated. Please tell us more about yourself, how people can continue the conversation with you. If you have books, materials, anything you'd like to promote, the floor is open. The platform is yours. Simon Bourk, my North American Canadian friend, how can people continue the conversation with you when you're not scaling rock faces and and in nature?
Well, there's two ways you can reach me. You can reach me through my website, bourksoftware.com, or through LinkedIn. Just look me up.
We'll link to it.
Right, so Simon Bourk, Bourk. There's only one of them.
Thankfully.
Yes.
Will, how can people continue the conversation?
I don't get an introduction then.
No, Will is like my. What do you say? My brother from another
motherland.
From another motherland. So he's my Netherlands brother. So yeah, Will, I love you.
Yeah.
How can people talk to you?
I know. I'm reachable through LinkedIn. That's probably going to be the primary channel. If you look for Wilber Seele, Seele, I'll pop up. I do the occasional blog post. I've shown up on some podcasts, this one, and also Sjoerd's podcast, who's coming up next. I work through Pro Awareness, so if you want to hire me to ask annoying questions, then that website is probably going to be your best entry point.
We'll put a link out to it.
Yeah, let's get in touch.
All right.
Cool, so then it's my turn. I'm here to represent Twitter, I think. So you can reach me at Twitter at Sjoerd. I have a podcast. It's currently paused.
So ganz kurz, wir machen jetzt zu.
2 minutes, we'll go.
Ja, ist okay, 2 Minuten ist okay, aber wenn Sie wollen, Sie können auch nachher im Lobby wieder sitzen, ist kein Problem. Okay?
Dankeschön.
So there is there is an extra podcast on product ownership. It's called the Product Owner Podcast, Product Owner Perspective.
What?
Yes, it does exist, but it's not as prolific as.
Hey,
as
I hope. Hey, yeah. Check it out. We all need new. We need new content. So I'm sure it's wonderful.
Yeah,
so
there's 10
I'll link
now.
to it.
There's more coming, and of course, just like anyone else, LinkedIn is great. So I'm learning every day. I'm looking forward to learn with you.
Awesome. And we will we'll share the podcast. And hey, we need more content. So awesome. All right, who's next?
So, Ari from Switzerland, Ari Weiland, professionalscrum.ch, mostly listening tonight, and over to Rolf.
I know, it's the one guy with the perfect radio voice who stayed silent. So that's kind
yes, I did. Sorry for that.
No, Ari is he's another one of the awesome trainers from the community, and if you're in Switzerland, both he and Ralph and a number of other trainers work out of there. They're all great. So check them out. Ralph.
This is Ralph, and I apologize for my voice. I'm just recovering from a really bad cold, so it's kind of like still sounding a little bit horrible. So I'm Ralph Jocham. I'm currently based in Bern, Switzerland. I have my own company, consulting, training, coaching company, EffectiveAgile.com. You can find me there. And as mentioned before by Ryan, Don McGrill, he's a PSPO steward in the same way I am, and we put our heads together a couple of years ago, 2 years ago, and we wrote a book, The Professional Scrum Product Owner, which is out since June this year, and it's doing last year 2018, and it's doing pretty well. Actually, it's now being translated into Chinese and into German, so there is actually a big demand. So yeah, but
check
reach out to me if you need a training, anything about product ownership, let me know.
And last but not least, sup y'all, my name is Guido. They'll probably put a link in somewhere because my last name is unpronounceable in English. Been a professional Scrum trainer for 2 years now, training in the Netherlands mostly. So if you want to follow a PSM or PSM2 class, which is full of fun, humor, improv, acting, and a lot of confrontation, hit me up. Write an occasional blog post. Latest one was about that I'd like to have Scrum Masters and Agile coaches finally stop team coaching because it doesn't work.
Ooh.
And if you're wondering about why, just read my blog. It's up on scrum.org. And if you're Dutchy, just look it up on LinkedIn and I'll see you there. Cheers.
All right, everybody, thank you. This was another one of these international, off the iPhone, sitting at dinner, waiters trying to get us to pay our tabs kind of talks. But I think these are the most fun. Like, it's just a relaxed group of Scrum people talking about leadership and training and talking about decision making and companies and products, and hopefully you got something interesting out of it. Leave a comment at the bottom of the post. Let us know your questions for next time if you want to keep hearing from people, Agilist trainers from around the world. I love traveling. I'm happy to go out and get into the world and bring them forward. We've got tons of people all over the world and the globe who can join us, and so let me know. Tell me if you like this, if you like these dinner conversations. Leave a comment, Twitter at Ryan Ripley. But otherwise, thanks for listening. Thanks for sticking through this. And yeah, have a great evening.